What's up, YouTube, man? I'm just excited to make this video because after over a year of trying to get an exam date, trying to get this license with the lockdowns and everything that's been going on in Ontario, I was finally able to pass the G exam in the first attempt. And so I want to share with you guys my experience as a newcomer, fairly new, to everybody else trying to get their license. I want to share my experiences and a little bit of tips and tricks that you can do to make sure that you're driving safe and to make sure that you're successful in passing the exam. So if you're trying to get that G exam, trying to get that G license, stay tuned to this video. So why should you get your G license? For those who are moving to Ontario, the G license allows you to purchase a car. The G license allows you to rent a car. Some places allow you to use your G2. And I'm going to talk about the different classes, the driving classes, because there are 3 of them that everybody normally goes through to get their G license. But for me, I realize how important having a car is in Canada, or having access to driving. When you don't live in a city that has great public transportation and there's an emergency, or you want to go on a road trip, or the winter's here and you're freezing cold on the bus stop, you realize how important it is to have a document such as your driver's license. And it happened to me last year when I went to rent a car during the lockdowns, and they told me, oh, you can't use your international license because you've been here more than 3 months. And so it made me really get aggressive about passing this exam. And the first step you need to take to get that G license is you need to take the G1 exam. And pretty much the G1 exam is the written exam. All the road signs, the rules, things that you would need to be aware of, the speed limit. And it's very important to know these things and not just cram to pass the exam, because you need to know what a construction warning sign looks like, or always stop, school zone. These things are important because if you break in the law, you're going to get yourself in trouble, even if you pass the exam. So the first thing you want to do, take that G1, and there's a handbook online for free. There are a lot of apps and things, G1 exam app. So get on that and make sure you're doing what you got to do, because you want to start this process as soon as possible. So the second thing you want to do before you even attempt your G2 exam, or even the G, look at some of the restrictions or the exemptions, because there are some countries that you can actually exchange your driver's license. And places like the US and other countries that drive similar to up here in Canada, you can just take your license in and exchange and you're good to go. But for people like me who come from the Caribbean and other countries, you have to go through this process. But there is something that you can do. For those who have extensive driving experience, like I had about 10 years prior to moving here, I was able to go to my road traffic and get a letter. And the letter stated that, hey, this person had a driver's license for X amount of years. And I was able to use that to be exempt from the G2. And the G2 exam is the city exam. It tests your ability to drive in the school zones and the communities, and safety, following the rules, parallel parking, 3-point turn, signaling and all that good stuff. So don't be upset if you have to take the G2, because it's still important. But if you're someone who doesn't really drive a lot, or you need as much practice as you can get, I recommend going through the G2 exam and getting a good driving instructor. That's one of the most important things, because there are a lot of guys out there charging $40, $50, $60 for 40 minutes, and you want somebody who's going to show you how to drive safely, not just to pass an exam. So that's so important. Make sure you find somebody who can help you practice as much as possible. I didn't have anybody to give me a practice lesson or let me use their car, so I had to pay, but it was worth it. So for those of you who are trying to get that G2 or that G, practice as much as possible. So the third thing you need to do is book the exam, and that's probably one of the most difficult parts right now, because everything is so backed up because of the global events that's happening. And it took me almost over a year to really understand what was happening and book a good date. But I was able to get a date for July, and I went in there and I did my best, and I was able to pass on the first attempt. some people fail and they can't get an open slot for 2022, 2023. You know, it's wild right now. So try to get on our website and book your exam so you can have a good slot and a timeline so you can know how long you have to practice. And that's the third thing I would do. Make sure you get an exam date. Fourth thing I would do is try to practice in the area that you are taking the exam. Make sure that you're familiar with the roads or if any construction or anything going on, any sharp turns, how to get on the highway, how to exit. You want to be familiar with your surroundings. Obviously, I'm fairly new, so I'm not familiar with much at all. But because I was confident in my abilities, I was able to jump right in and drive. But there's a video on YouTube. I'm going to share the link in the description with this guy. He really shows you all the different cities and what to expect. And that was clutch for me because I took my exam in Oakville. Never really been in Oakville because, you know, I didn't have a transportation to get there. But because I watched the videos so much, it was almost like I've been there before. So that's a good thing you should do. Research on the area you'll be taking an exam and try to take your exam in a city that's not too hectic. Of course, you don't want to be taking your exam in downtown Toronto or anything. You want to take your exam in a place where you have freedom of really driving smoothly and not being rushed. It's best to take your exam between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. You don't want to be in rush hour or back to school rush hour as well. So that's it. And the last thing, man, go to your exam, be confident. When you go to the drive center to book your exam, you're going to go to a kiosk and put in your information, and the driving examiner is going to come and make sure your car is in condition to drive. I had to rent a car from the driving instructor. That was also expensive. So make sure your car doesn't have any cracks in the windshield. Make sure your signals are working, your brake lights, and make sure your emergency brake is working. And drive confidently and drive smoothly. That's the thing. Don't book your exam if you're still afraid or you're not confident, because the examiner is going to feel that fear when you're driving. You want to drive as if you're an Uber driver or somebody who is used to driving. Take a deep breath, have a good breakfast that morning, and, you know, do your best, because driving is essential. And like I said, if you don't live in a city where public transportation is always on the hour or really moving, man, you're going to be stuck some places wishing you had your driving license. And even some jobs, they don't even consider you if you don't have a full license. So I had to. Failure was not an option for me. So for you guys out there just moving to Canada, be confident. Don't worry, it's not the end of the world if you don't pass, but it's better to pass and, you know, save you money. So with that being said, man, I wish you guys all the best. You out there trying to get your G license. I know how it feels not having a transportation or not being able to show that license and say, yes, I can drive on the freeway. But it took me over a year up, and now I finally got it. And I just wanted to share with you guys that experience. So with that being said, if you guys out there have any tips and advice, feel free to post it in the comment section. Feel free to stay tuned for more videos from me. And thank you so much for watching. This has been A Broad State of Mind, and hope you have a blessed day, and stay tuned for more.